Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to open your Scirocco MK2 sunroof, diagnose a bunch of different problems, show you what parts could be broken, what parts you may need to replace. I'm not going to cover adjusting your sunroof, but I'm going to come pretty close to some of that. But anyway, let's dig right in. So if you're watching this video, it probably means that you're having problems with your sunroof. And there are a lot of parts in the sunroof that could possibly break. This car, when I bought it, the sunroof rear guides were completely broken from the cable down here. This was broken in pieces. You'll see pictures of that in a little bit. I also had a split side guide. It often splits right about there. Also, the little push-down tab that pushes down to allow the sunroof to retract if the car was broken. You also have these wind deflectors which sit on the side of the roof to help keep wind out. These tabs often break. So these are the main things that are common for breaking in these. But today I'm going to show you how to access the sunroof even if you can't get it open. If you can tilt it up, it's a little easier. If you can't tilt it up, we don't want to force turning the handle to get it open. But I'm going to show you a way to get it open, or at least to take it apart without having to open it up. So the first thing we're going to do is go through an explode diagram of your sunroof so you understand each of the parts. This diagram comes out of the sunroof guide, which I have linked in the description. So let's start down here on the lower left. This part in green is the rear guide. There's one on the left and one on the right, and this has a little pin in it. This part connects to the cables and moves back and forth to lift, lower, and retract the sunroof. If these are broken off from your cables, then everything in your sunroof is broken. And it's very common that these do break off the cables. The second part we're going to note is up here is the side guides. There's one again on left and right, and this is what's responsible for tilting your sunroof, pulling it down and locking it, and then also retracting it into the roof. There's a little tab on both sides, and when the sunroof pulls down, this little tab hits a little plate on the water drain tray, which is back here, and that's going to press down just enough to unlock the water drain tray from the track so that it could move backwards. If the little tab on here is bent, then it's not going to work right. I'm going to show you that later in the video. On the sides, you have your side rails. Every single part of the sunroof depends on the side rails. The side guides, the rear guides, ride in the rails. The water drain tray rides in the rails. And the next part, which is the front guide, also rides inside the rails. Also here is the inner panel, which has the cloth on it, that also rides inside the rails. So the next thing we're going to look at here is the front guide. The front guide is what connects, there's a couple of screws that connects to the front of the sunroof, and it sits on a hinge and allows the roof to tilt. The next piece is here in orange, and this is your tilt lever. The tilt lever slides along on your side rails, and that's what's responsible for tilting the roof up. The next piece is what we're going to disconnect in step number 1. This is very important. This is the spring that connects from the tilt lever to the back of the sunroof panel, and that's the very first thing that we have to take off to get this thing started. So let's go ahead and start taking apart your sunroof. This sunroof guide, which I will post a link to in the video, this is an excellent resource for managing your sunroof. In the back pages, it shows you very briefly how to do all this stuff, but I'm going to walk you through it. But this is a book that you should really have before you get started. So, the paint on my car is not so great, as you'll see as we keep going. You may want to put some things around to protect the paint on your car and the paint on your sunroof. So you may want to put down a towel or tape or whatever you want to do to protect your paint. So if you haven't opened your sunroof in a long time, here's some things that you may need to order once we get through this. You may need a new seal. You can get a new seal, a really good one from Vintage Rubber. You may need to get new side guides. Tech 53 sells an excellent product that's all metal, and it has these push-down tabs re-engineered much better. I now sell this solution to fix your side guides. I also make new versions of these side wind deflectors. To do everything today, all you will need is a Phillips head screwdriver, a pair of pliers. If you have angled ones, it makes it a little bit easier. You're going to need a hanger. You're going to want to get a hanger because you're going to have to make a little tool for yourself to pull a spring off that is right in the center of the sunroof. And you should not use power tools anywhere on this project except for one place. I have an impact gun, a screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver. I am going to use that specifically on 4 screws only, which is the 2 here and the 2 here on the inside of the car. They are put on there pretty good. Every other screw that we're going to touch on the tracks, everything else, you're only going to want to use hand tools because there are some riv nuts in here. There are machine screws with riv nuts. And if you over tighten them, you're going to loosen the riv nut, and then you're going to have extra work to do. I actually broke a riv nut on this side. I found out the hard way, so I'm warning you right now. Everything should be hand tight except for the 4 screws up front, which I will show you. So let's go ahead and start talking about how you're going to take this apart. So step 1 is we have to take this inner panel right here and we have to move it to the back of the car. And then that's going to expose everything that we need to diagnose problems with the sunroof mechanism and to be able to take apart everything to lift the actual sunroof out and take the whole hardware apart. So if you can get your sunroof to tilt open, this is a lot easier. If you can't get your sunroof to tilt open, we can do this also. A little bit harder, not too much harder, but a little bit harder. Basically, the very first thing we have to do is there's a spring that runs right here in the center of the sunroof, and that holds this inner panel in place. So if I tilt up the sunroof, this panel right here will tilt up with it, okay? If we can't get the sunroof to tilt up, then where we can access the spring very easily, then you've got to go access the spring from the inside. So with the roof closed, if you can't get the roof to tilt open, then you're going to have to go in from here with a bent tool, that bent hanger tool, and you're going to have to slide it in here and somehow figure out how you're going to catch that little spring and detach it by pushing to the back of the car. Once you have that spring off, then you can move this panel back, and then that's going to expose everything. So I'm going to open the roof, turning the handle counterclockwise, and using the little handy dandy tool, we're just going to take off this spring. So we just pull the panel down. We're going to put a light on it so hope you can see it. And we are just going to hook onto the spring. And so it's right in the center of the car. So if you have to do this from the inside, you're going to bend the tool up. You're going to try to wiggle this hanger in there. And you're just going to push forward until it releases. And that's it. That's step number 1. All right. Step number 2, we're just going to take the panel on the inside and we're just going to push it to the back of the car. It's only held in by a couple of clips on the front guide, So it should move off pretty easily. Okay. So I'm just going to reach into the car here. You can get in the car if you want. I'm just going to push the panel back. To give you a view from inside the car, all right, the spring is disconnected. I'm just going to take the panel and push it back. And that's it. And now we're going to push that back. All right, so now the panel is open. We're inside the car. Here's the spring that we removed. Okay. This is the front guide, and this is where the 4 screws are that connects the front of the roof to the whole system. Over here we have this is the tilt guide. Down here is your rear guides, and then these are your side guides. The side guide often splits in half right there. The rear side guides also tend to break off from the cable. You'll notice right away if you get in the car and these are loose. And whatever is on the right side is also on the left side. So what we're going to do to disassemble the sunroof next, step 2 is we're going to remove these screws right here. There's 1, 2. Now there's a screw in the center. We're going to leave that screw alone. That's for adjusting. We're not touching that. We're only going to unscrew the two screws on either side, which I've got pointed to in arrows. Then we're going to disconnect. We're going to disconnect this little C-clip from the rear rain tray, and then we're going to pull off the tilt guide, and from there we should be able to just lift the roof out. So now, as I said, removing these 2 screws, this is the only time that I'm going to let you use a power tool. These are on here pretty good. You might be able to get them by hand, but if you take a little impact screwdriver, these 4 screws on either side will come out really easy. I highly recommend that you get a baggie to put everything in as you go through this. All right, I'm going to go remove these. Okay. 1. 2. And then there's 2 more on the other side. All right, I have the 4 screws out. Now I'm going to take out the C-clip on either side. And the C-clip is bent out. It has a nice easy access point. You're just going to take your pliers and you're just going to pull it right off. Okay, put this in a baggie. You do not want to lose this. Okay, and now we're on the driver's side, and I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're just going to use the pliers, take off that C-clip, and then put it aside in a baggie. Next, now this arm that's connected to this post, which is where we just removed the C-clip from. Post, just like that. So now that's off the post, and let's do the same thing on the other side. So same thing. This is the arm that connects to the rear, the drain. We're just going to take it and pull it right off the post. And now the rear water drain guide is disconnected, and we have one more thing to remove, and then the roof should come free. Okay. Now we've got to take out the tilt lever, and that is connected to a post on the rear guides. If your rear guides are broken from the tracks, then the whole thing is going to lift right out, and this won't matter. But if they are connected, there is a spring load on the driver's side. So we want to take this, pull it towards us, and pull it off of this post, and then remove it from the post on the driver's side, and then the whole thing comes free. So I've only got one hand. I can't really do that on camera. So I removed the tilt lever from the car, but I'm left with this side So all we're going to do is just take this and pull this out right off the post. Whoops, fell in my lap. But now the sunroof is completely free, and I'm going to go back out of the car and show you that. So this is what we just removed. You can see the spring load right there, and I pushed from the passenger side to the driver's side on the spring load to remove this whole section. So now with the 4 screws out, the rear arms disconnected, and the tilt guide disconnected, we should just be able to lift the sunroof right out. So now at this point we have the top of the roof taken off. Your wind deflector is still on. There's other pieces here that are still on. In my picture I've removed them, but you also still have the handle on. Now if you move the handle back and forth and these rear glides move with it, then that means you're in good shape. The glides aren't broken off. There's one on each side, so you're going to want to check to make sure that both move. But if you do open up the roof and these are sitting here free in pieces, there's little plastic pieces on either one or both sides, then you have more work to do. You have a choice. You either have to find replacement cables, which are no longer sold, and they are very, very difficult to find. If you do have an extra set, or you do find them, great. You can skip to putting the tracks back in, and I'll show you how to do that. If you do not have an extra set of cables or glides, then this is the part that I have been making in engineering, and my sunroof was broken. So I'm going to show you in another section of this video how to take my part and put it back together on the cable, and then we'll reset and reassemble. So with the sunroof open, this is what it looks like inside before I cleaned everything out. You can see there is just tons and tons of crap and dirt, and the vinyl came unglued, which we'll just glue back with some adhesive, but it's so dirty in here. It's no wonder why the tracks get seized up. So now let's identify a couple of the things on the inside of the car, and right away you're probably going to see some things that are maybe broken. But this is the rear side guides. This is my 3D replacement because I've already put these back in, but I'm showing you how to take everything apart and put them back in again. This is the rear rain drain tray. This is the front guide, and this is the wind deflector. What we're going to do is, if your rail guides are broken, the rear rail guides are broken with the pins on them, they're going to be out of the way, so it won't be a big deal. If they're intact, then we need to move them towards the back of the car. And I'm doing that by turning clockwise. Okay? We're going to push those to the back of the car, and then we're going to move the front guide out of the way. We may not get that back the whole way. The first thing that we want to do is take off the front wind deflector. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off the wind deflector and the arms. We're going to loosen up the track, all of the screws on the track. We're going to take the front section out. We're going to slide the front guide off. We're going to slide the water drain tray out, and then we'll be able to take the whole thing out. This would be a good time, if you haven't, to lay something down up front or on the sides to make sure that you're protecting your paint. So we need to loosen up the wind deflector arms. So if you move this back a little bit, you'll see on the sides there's a little arm here, and I'll show a picture of it, and that connects to the wind deflector. So when the sunroof goes all the way back, so this didn't go the whole way back because we've got to push down on these tabs. There's a tab here on both sides. We got to push the water drain tray back into the car. So there's a little tab here. We're going to push down, And this is what when the roof goes back, this goes back into the car. So we're going to just push that back out of the way just a little bit. We're going to reverse the rear guides a little bit more. There we go. Now we've got plenty of room. We're going to move this back, and now the wind deflector is up. First step is we're going to take off the wind deflector arms. There's one screw. Take the screws and put them in my screw tray. So now the arm is free, and we want to rotate it so it slides right out of the front here. Okay, so you're just going to lift it up, and then it's going to come right out. We'll put that aside, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Take out one screw by hand with the power tools. Screw side, we're going to lift the arm up, and we're going to remove that from the car. So again, you're going to have to swing it all the way forward because this has a little notch on it to keep it in place. So let's just put that aside. So now this piece right here has another part that breaks where the wind deflector fits into. This piece also sometimes breaks. I have a 3D printed version of this. It slides off the bar, and you can slide a new one back on and glue it into place. But now with the arms off, we're going to remove the wind deflector by removing 4 screws. 1, and these are little machine head screws. I'm going to group them together in my tray. Now the wind deflector is free. And this is what I was talking about. If these are broken, this is a common breakpoint also. I have a 3D printed solution for that. I'm going to take the wind deflector and I'm going to put it on the front of the car. The next screws we're going to remove they're a bigger Phillips head screw towards the rear of the track. We're going to take this one out. You have to remember, these are a little bit bigger than all of the others. So remember that. We're going to take that one out, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Make sure you don't lose any of the washers. Now we're going to move this back, and we're going to take out the front screw on the track. This one is a machine head screw, just like the one on the rear. And then we take out this part and we're just going to put it aside. Same thing over here. Now on my car, when I was putting this in, I stripped out the riv nut, so I had to put in a fix. So I'm going to show you. So to fix this, what I did is I got a little bit longer screw and a nut, and I just fastened it from underneath. If you do spin any of your riv nuts, you're going to have to reach inside the car. And it's really pretty easy to do. You take down the weather stripping and you expose the inner liner, and you could just stick your hand in here and you'll be able to feel the riv nuts, or in my case, this fix that I put in. So now I'm going to take this one out. See, this is what I did to fix it. I probably didn't need this long of a nut, but it does make it easier for me to grab. Okay. And now I'm going to take that and put that aside. Now the rear track is free. We're going to take out the front track. And there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. And we're just going to take them out by hand. And now we're going to go inside the car and we're going to take out the Phillips screw on the handle, the 2 screws on the gear, and we're going to drop the gear and this whole thing is going to come free. Handle, and then there's a little trim piece, and then I'm just going to take out 2 more Phillips head screws, don't lose any of your screws. Pull out the gear. And now everything is free. I'm just going to put this aside. And I'm going to keep the screws that go with the gear and the screw that goes with the handle. And I'm just going to put those over there. Now everything is free and open and we're going to start to take out the innards. So what we want to do is we want to lift the track up. We're going to slide this apart, and I'm going to slide it off on the other side too. So this way we're not making a gigantic mess and taking the whole thing out at one time. We're now going to take this, and we're just going to slide the front guide out. Just going to slide the front guide out. This side. Slide the front guide out, and we're going to set this aside. Now we're going to just take out the guides themselves. Because the gears are disconnected, we can just slide these forward. We're just going to slide these forward by hand, and then we're just going to take that out. Now, just lift this right out of the car. Now, this is my 3D printed solution on this round, but you'll be if yours are still in good shape and they're connected, you're still going to do the same thing and you'll slide these out. If your rail guides are broken, this whole thing is just going to come right off without any of that work. And we're going to set this aside. Okay. Now, we remove the rear guide. This is the rain tray. We can slide the panel forward. We can take the panel out. And then we have the tracks. Just take the tracks out and that's it. Everything is taken apart. Now the entire sunroof. So now the entire sunroof is out. Here's some of the pieces from the sides, the front deflector, and then here's everything else that we removed. Here's the sunroof, and there's the guide assembly all taken out. Next, I'm going to show you. I'm going to install my 3D printed guides back in, and we're going to talk about cleaning everything up. You're going to want to clean up this whole area. You're going to want to try to vacuum out as much gunk as possible, clean up this whole thing, and then we're going to move on to cleaning up the individual parts and figuring out what's wrong with our sunroof.